Moose, 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 Jamie the Vet Williams, moose, 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 Brandon, moose, 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 moose,
Moose, moose, moose, moose, moose, moose, moose, moose, moose, moose, moose.
moose, moose. Well, guys, in case you can't tell, we've got a lot to be excited about. The Moose Moose is back. It's officially back, and we have a reason to celebrate and a reason to be happy. Yeah. As you may know, we'll just lead with it. Moose is the TNA champion. Let's just get that right out of the way. Let's just thank Moose first and foremost. Let's thank Moose. Let's thank TNA for recognizing Moose. Let's thank all of us, including you guys in the chat, the C and the VBC, for all your Moose support. And we should thank ourselves for pushing for Moose this whole time. Like it truly was a worldwide team effort, and we all came through, and it's done. We got it done. So let's acknowledge those people that are with us in the chat here on the Moose Moose tonight live.
See, tonight we got Media M5, Jerome Hall, Lisbeth, see, Lab Rat, Javi Uchida, Media M5, Al Robinson, Retro Rocket Review, what is up? Moose, 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 Moose.
Moose, Moose indeed. Yes. Well, it's finally here. TNA is here. They've been threatening us with it for a while, but now they've finally showed up. And it's still a little early to tell if this is more than just changing out the ring ropes and the aprons and everything and the graphics and everything like that. Is this really just Impact Wrestling with a new paint of coat? Or, are we in for something different? Is this a new era? Was Hard to Kill the beginning of a new era? I don't know. We'll get to all that throughout the course of the show. But first, is there any other non-Moose news that we need to get to here at the start of the program?
Man, unless I missed something, there wasn't really a noteworthy week.
Yeah, not too noteworthy, I don't think. I guess I have a small piece of news. So I'm seeing that according to a report from Fightful, TNA is going to be bringing back Explosion. So there's going to be, I don't know how that will affect, what was that? What was the thing they used to have like right before Impact, the taping,
before the Impact.
Yeah. What was that show called?
I think it's called Before the Impact.
Really? Doesn't sound familiar. What was it? Well, anyway, you know what I'm talking about. They would show clips from it during before the what the live expo. What? No. They would show clips from it, like BTI. Yeah, Before the Impact. Yeah, no, that's right. Yep, that's right. BTI. They just I only know it as that. I never even thought about what it stood for. I'm sorry. All right. Well, that's all right. We'll get it. I'll get it together. I'm sorry. I'm just so flustered because I'm not used to Moose being in this position. So you'll have to forgive me. But yes, BTI. So will BTI be replaced by Explosion going forward? I don't know. Well, are they just changing the name of the show they already do? Is this report from Fightful like they just don't even know what goes on at the company and that they're not fully aware of the situation? I don't know. But in this article, they said that the recent Snake Eyes event that they taped probably today and Sunday or whatever it was. They already had matches taped for it. So, um, let's see. Yeah, they don't have any news. They just said it's bringing it back because somebody from the I guess somebody from the taping tweeted out a picture of the Tron with the graphic of explosion on it. So that's how they knew. Not a super exciting piece of news, but you know, it's something.
There was one time I'll never forget it because the audio got quickly taken down. Remember, I tried to submit it to Jeff Lane for Cash Rate in the Marks years ago, and then when I sent him the link, he said, "Hey, it's gone." But apparently, somebody had sent Dave Meltzer a screenshot of from a show somewhere in the UK from the intermission and the Tron said intermission, and we sent it to Dave and said, "Hey, they just announced they're going to bring a pay-per-view to the UK called Intermission," and Dave ran with it. And then the guy who did it was like, "Holy shit, I can't believe he fell for it." And then apparently it got back to Dave, and then the audio and the video on the YouTube ended up getting pulled.
Well, that's that tells you kind of everything you need to know about a lot of things. Take what you hear with a grain of salt, even from us, because you know, we don't know everything, but we got a good idea. So, all right. So with that, I guess we could just get into some coverage, some coverage of some TNA stuff. I know that's what everybody really cares about. Let's see here. I've got the notes here. So the actual episode of TNA this week was a TNA clip show. So, but it was sort of centered around either last year's Hard to Kill or some other matches that happened during the year that are somewhat significant to the Hard to Kill pay-per-view, either because they're a preview of upcoming matches or people involved in the matches and shit like that. So nothing you haven't already seen or that we haven't already before. However, there was two pieces of original content on the episode. The first one was a Grizzled Young Veterans sort of vignette where they're walking towards a camera. The camera's walking backwards and they're walking towards it. And they're probably in Florida somewhere because of all the palm trees. And they're in full suits. So at least it looks like it was overcast and cool. So they wouldn't have been sweating like they normally would in Florida. And then you saw this, right, Brandon?
Oh yeah. And then they happen to walk and then they walk past a random dude, and then one of them just beats the shit out of him.
That's right. The guy's on his phone and bumps into them and gives them the whole, "I'm just holding my hand up because it's a thing to do and I'm not apologizing or anything." So he just walks away and then they're so James Drake goes and kicks the shit out of him in the background while Zach Gibson continues to talk. And then, then he finishes up with the go home line. He catches back up to the camera crew and gives the go home line. And there you go. There's your preview of Grizzled Young Veterans up ahead of their TNA debut. How familiar are you with this team, and what did you think of this piece?
This is really the first thing I've seen out of them, but I liked what I saw. I mean, they definitely know their characters. They know who they are. I just wish that we'd see more content like this on the shows from the wrestlers instead of just, 15, 20-minute matches.
Well, we'll see. Will that be a new facet of TNA? More content like this instead of 20-minute matches? Who knows? Only time will tell, because like I said, we don't really have enough to go on yet. All we got is this clip show and a pay-per-view, which is just straight up matches. Right? So. But yes, it was a little something. The other piece was a sit-down interview with Tom, where Moose and Shelly are face to face in the studio, and they sit and they take mark questions from certain marks, some of whom you know. People like Sean Ross Sapp from Fightful. One of the marks asked a question. Uh, his buddy Denise made an appearance. Mark Raimondi from ESPN, some others. So yeah, they're asking questions and these guys are answering them sort of in character. It was okay. It was a little something different. Couple things I noticed about it. It seemed like for whatever reason, I don't know. I don't know exactly why, but it seemed like Moose was like nervous. I guess is the best word I could describe, even though that's not like fully accurate, but it's the only word I could think of to sort of describe what I was seeing. Not nervous as in like like scared or um I don't know, apprehensive, just like I could just tell that there was a lot of sort of nervous energy, like his voice was a little bit trembling at times, like he was excited. Um and like that it was slight, but I noticed. Look, as a Moose connoisseur, I notice when any little thing is just a little bit different. Awkward. No, I think he nailed everything. He kind of like, I mean, he kind of like almost stumbled over some words here and there, but not like he wasn't like mumbly or anything. It was just an energy more so. I could feel like he was, I don't know. Maybe like he really wanted this to come off good, and he's usually not on camera speaking for this long of a time. Perhaps maybe something like that. So maybe he's like self-aware. I don't know. It's just I don't. It's not like a criticism. It's just an observation. I've been in those type of situations, not necessarily like that, but you know how it is when your nerves are just, either you're too excited or you're like I don't know, maybe you've had too many supplements, whatever the case may be, caffeine perhaps, you know. And the other thing I noticed was that it was like the out was kind of awkward and abrupt. Like Alex Shelley said something and then it was just like, okay, show's over. They kind of staring at each other, and it didn't really feel like a good go home line or a line to go out on. So that was kind of awkward, but that's really all I had to say about it. Other than that, it was, I guess, a good way to. It's nice to see a big match hyped up that the guys just aren't getting into a fight, because that happens every single time in wrestling. This is like, okay, these guys haven't touched. All right. So now we've built up the tension with words, and Moose kept saying, it's time to hand over the keys, and I'm going to take the keys, and I'm going to drive this car, and all this analogy, right? So anyway, what'd you think of this whole deal?
I liked it. Although I didn't personally care for some of the people that were on there, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah,
But Moose came off well. Alex Shelley was his usual self. As far as like with the whole them not getting physical, it also did kind of help with that there's nothing personal between them. It's just all about the belt. They have, and there's no reason for them to actually come to blows beforehand.
right. Yeah, we hear from a lot of armchair quarterbacks that we hear them regurgitate famous things like Jerry Jarrett saying personal issues draw money and stuff like that. And like, I guess they do, but you can't make personal issues where there are none, because then if your creative's that bad, then it's not going to be believable no matter what you do. So sometimes it's okay to just have, the ultimate prize of your sport be the reason why something's happening. Otherwise, why is it there? Like, if to put it in a different perspective of the same kind of situation right now, The Rock has come back to WWE recently and made a overture towards Roman Reigns. But is that match, would people care about is the championship the heart of that thing? Or is it more like the family and that sort of the long built-in story? And then you just have the belt kind of lost in that, right? So it's a little weird. Does anybody really care if The Rock is the WWE champion? Like, is that something people want? They may think they want it, but be careful what you wish for, because that's going to kill everything that they've done up to that point to try to build that title, and it's meaning for the company. If some 50-year-old actor comes in and just takes it, even if it is The Rock, what do you think about that?
I think, yeah, I mean, Rock and Roman does not need the title. It's basically a personal family issue that the Rocks come in to solve. That's what it should be about.
Mm-hmm.
What I think should happen, and this is just me throwing stuff out there, what if the Rock screwed Roman at the Royal Rumble and, say, flip it to LA Knight? That opens up so many different possibilities. Now the Royal Rumble is completely in question. You have no idea what's going to happen now.
Right. And, furthermore, sometimes a personal family issue just can't be solved with holding a guy's shoulders down for 3 seconds. Sometimes it takes a little more than that. So, I don't know. The point is, Moose and Shelley here, whatever they did in this, the interesting thing is, one of my pet peeves these days is people try to sell you a wrestling match with fighting instead of the other way around, and they didn't do that. So good for them. And now, that's going to basically lead us into the big TNA re-debut, Hard to Kill, the pay-per-view. All right. Here's a we'll get to this question here, because Buckshot Kid had a question, but we'll get to that question in time. All right, Hard to Kill is here, and we have a countdown show. On our countdown show, we have a match, Rich Swann versus Burt Macklin. I believe this is the first time Burt Macklin's been back. At least they said he's been back since some time, and it's his first singles match, but we have not seen very much from him lately.
No, he appeared on Impact a few times since he's been back, but then, since he's been back, it's been mostly clip shows.
Yes. All right. Rich Swann is dressed like Flash Funk here for whatever reason. I'm not complaining. Just once again, just making an observation.
Glad I'm not the only one who noticed that.
Even the commentary said it. I'm surprised Tom even knows who Flash Funk is, but good for him. I guess he is a fan after all, or somebody smarting him up. Either way, but yeah. So was that one of yours? Media M5? Did you make the Flash Funk gear for Rich Swann? All right. The match was fine. It was kind of 50-50. Macklin went over with the KIA. Anything to add?
I mean, it was an all right opening match to start everything off.
Yeah, it's fine.
I just don't really know where most of the money is, either in Macklin or in Swann. Swann's obviously the more charismatic. He can cut a better promo, whereas Macklin's a lot more intense and believable.
Yeah. Hey, Rich Swann is like his promos were so good there for a while. And then it's just like he just at some point just got pushed down to be another guy. This guy was your champion for a while. Don't forget that, guys.
No, I think a lot of it happened when Willie Mack left.
Well, yeah, which is weird. It's like you're more in the spotlight with a tag team than you are, just on your own when you've already been the world heavyweight champion. So I don't know. But there's got to be a way to get Rich Swann on the show, even if you don't want him to be the guy or one of the top guys. Still got to use him.
He's still a guy you need to have on every show. He's got a spot.
Yeah, my opinion. All right, so we got Moose and others with Gia and no music underneath. Apparently, this is a new faction that is formed. The others being Fat Eddie, Thin Lishy, and I guess we'll say, yeah, Fat Brian. Like he doesn't want to work out either. That's why he wears the singlet top. So, yeah. So this is they're now known as the System, and their catchphrase is to always trust the system. All right, what do you think of the System?
How does Eddie fit in? Where did he come from?
Ah, we don't have anything else for you, kid. You want to team up with Myers?
I mean, I understand like Moose and Eddie do have actual storyline, personal history. How hard is it to shoot a vignette where, like, Moose and Brian Myers walk up to Eddie and they just say, "Hey, we proposition," and that's how they set everything up?
It is the hardest thing in the world. We had no time to do any of this. When were they supposed to shoot this vignette, Brandon? Like when do you think they were supposed to shoot this vignette between what was that what was that pay-per-view in Santino's house? The shot in his living room or something? Yeah, when did they have time between then and now to shoot one simple vignette? Like that, I don't know when that would have fitted in. Yeah. So yeah. But yeah. Well, the system, does that work? Does the system work?
I guess.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Now it's not over the moon about it, huh?
We'll see PCO. I mean, at least there's some kind of direction and they're going somewhere.
Okay. Well, it's funny. It's funny how Moose was saying, like, I'm getting rid of all the nicknames. I'm getting rid of all the extra. I'm concentrating on this. And then, oh, also here's 3 more people. Which is fine. All right. So, next, we go to DJ Who Kid in the ring. Now, this guy would be a perfect candidate for, the Conan joke. Unfortunately, I definitely know who this guy is, so I can't make that. But his name is just begging for it. Yeah. So DJ Who Kid, and he introduces AJ Francis, which is Top Dollar, which many of us probably also know as Flop Dollar. But he comes out and they're gonna debut his new music video called We Outside, which I'm sure is getting ready to burn up the SoundCloud charts. Does SoundCloud still exist? I haven't checked. And then luckily, after the video's been on for a few seconds of just cringe genericness, Joe Hendry appears. Or at least his video does. So yes. So he comes out, and then he of course has his own music video. And you can imagine what would happen from there. But in case you don't feel like imagining it, it was something about Cheez-Its and how AJ's the Cheez-It champion. This is a creative way to work a sponsorship in, but it definitely goes awry at the end when they deliver a beating to Joe Hendry after DJ Who Kid hits him with the laptop. Okay, so here he is. Here's your big debut of this guy, and I guess he gets made fun of and gets some heat back. I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, AJ Francis, everything he does is like, it's like, what can go wrong in this is basically what's happened. No matter what, whether it's, WWE Hidden Treasures or his wrestling career or his rapping or anything, it's just like a constant train wreck. And I can't commend the guy enough for just soldiering on through it and keeping on doing stuff, because that's got to be rough. But you know, again, I don't know what your exposure to this guy is before this very moment as the Cheez-It champion. But you know, what was your take on this whole thing as it's unfolding in front of you?
I thought it was funny. The Joe Hendry stuff was funny. And in the video too, they had him. He made fun of the whole flop over the top rope thing.
Right. They somehow got that dummy to recreate exactly what it looked like. Because if you've seen that clip, and especially if you've heard the Jim Cornette commentary over it, where he says he somehow went over the top rope and almost ended up back in the ring. And if you watch what they did with that dummy in the video, they were able to recreate it faithfully somehow. This is what it looked like. That is exactly what it looked like. So that was funny. But yeah.
And then the best part was at the end when he choke slammed him into the Cheez-Its.
Yes. Cheez-Its. What else is orange? Cheez-Its.
And I thought DJ Woo Kid did pretty well here too.
Yeah, he was good. So, you know, maybe a new tag team, AJ Francis, DJ Woo Kid. So yeah, man. Well, we'll see. According to the internet, AJ Francis does not have a contract with TNA, so they're working on handshake deals. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. I guess he's trying to keep his options open. I don't know that that's good or bad. I think he'll probably just have his options open pretty much forever. But good luck to him. I can't wait to see what's next. Well, actually, we get to see what's next later in this show. And I'll reiterate something I've already said when that point comes. But yes. Yes. All right. Well, if there's nothing else on that, we can move on to our next match. We're still on the countdown show. So Fat Eddie and Fat Myers with Lish versus EY and Kazarian. You know, one TNA original and one TNA original, and betting on themselves, and you know, just doing it. Apparently Eric Young is also on a handshake deal right now, which is strange considering his prominence here, which we'll get to that in due time. But anyway, this is just a tag match on a pre-show. And so they have a match, and no cheating, no Lish, just system goes over. Straight up. We're establishing the system. Trust the system. Did you find that odd that you know, there was no sort of chicanery involved here?
The only thing I could think, was there any chicanery later on in the matches? I don't remember off the top of my head.
In other matches on the card?
Yeah.
Well, there might have been some chicanery. I can't remember.
I mean,
but this one probably needed it because you have a manager.
Yeah, why not use her?
Yeah, I think she went to the back. I don't even remember her being out there at the end.
That's possible. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Well. Oh well. Well, anyway, anything else on that?
No, so just to establish the system as a tag team. I mean, they need to get their wins in if you're going to establish a new faction.
Okay. All right, well, let's establish. Fuck. There's no good. All right, look, it's Crazy Steve versus Tommy Dreamer for the Digital Media Championship. No DQ. All right, look, you already know this match is going to be the shits. Just based on who's in it. You got a blind guy, and you got Tommy Dreamer, right? So, good luck. So how do I say what happens here? Crazy Steve has like big sacks full of forks, and he like stuffs Tommy Dreamer with forks. Like he pours some down his shirt and dumps a bunch of forks on him. It's like, Are you kidding me? Like, I was like, as this was happening, I was like, you're kidding, right? And each fork is like, you know how they put the gimmick tape on it? Like, I don't know what that's like. What is that? Like, grip? Like, you're trying to grip the fork, like you're afraid the fork's gonna just slip out of your hand because it's like holding an eel or something. Like, what, you got to tape it up to make sure that whatever. So he's got like 100 forks that all are like taped up around the handle for some reason. And then he dumps them on Tommy Dreamer and then hits a cannonball on him and then hits his DDT on him and becomes a digital media champion. Is there anything else to even talk about in this match other than that spot?
No. All I could think of that entire time. Did you see that one Lions, Tigers, Bears in Head where they had the fork spot and that one dude keeps screaming about the forks?
Well, I never watched the videos on those. I always have it like audio only if I listen to it. So,
oh yeah, there is like this. I didn't see it, but I was listening to it. But there's this. You hear this dude in the crowd just keep going, the forks, and then the spot happens, and he goes, the forks. Like,
yeah.
that's all I could think of this entire spot.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's just one way to go, I guess. Like Retro Rocket Review said, hey, that once they started using forks some months ago, might as well keep doing it. Sure, by that logic, sure. I mean, I would have thought it'd be a little more, symbolic or meaningful if you had a thing like that, if you were going to keep reintroducing the same foreign object or whatever. If it was something that, like, literally everybody, doesn't just have in their kitchen drawer, but yeah, why not? Just keep doing it. Labrat says he was trying to deflate Tommy. That's great. Buckshot Kid says Tommy's so fat my wife thought it was Sammy Callahan. That's funny. But you'd have to watch MLW for that. So yeah. Forks and a DDT, and Crazy Steve is the digital media champion. Any final comments on this? What would you call it?
What are you doing, Tommy? What are you doing?
Oh, he's just doing the same thing he's always done. Well, I guess we're ready to move on to the main card. Okay, so we have Triple H. Eric Young, sorry. I was confused. I saw a bald guy with a beard in a suit trying to be important and rally the troops, so I thought it was a different guy, but it was actually Eric Young, who's only on a handshake deal, but he's narrating a pre-tape, and then he continues his narration live as he comes out of the tunnel, and everybody not everybody, but like a bunch of people are out there, like on the stage, and he's like, he says, "We are TNA." And I'm just like, are you, wait, hold on. Am I sure this isn't Triple H? Let me, I don't wear glasses or contacts or anything. I'm pretty sure that's Eric Young, but I kept questioning it. But yeah, no, it was Eric Young. So he rallied the troops with this speech, and then we immediately kicked off with Ultimate X, which was for the ladies this time, and it was Tasha Steelz, Giselle Shaw, Alicia Edwards, Jody Thread, Danny Luna, and their new, signee, Zaya Brookside. So Zaya Brookside is the, I believe, niece of Robbie Brookside. And she was over in NXT UK when that was a thing, and she was only like 18 or something at the time. And then that folded, and she kind of never came to the US with some of the other people that came over. And I don't know what she's been doing. Oh, she went to Stardom, and now she's here. So Zaya Brookside. There you go. And then the Ultimate X match happens. And they did Ultimate X things, and I don't know how to like recap this. Like I just, it's every Ultimate X match, whether it's men or women. They climb over the thing and fall off the thing. That's basically what they do. There's some dangerous stuff in this, of course. It's always dangerous, but I don't think anything went too horribly wrong. Giselle Shaw ended up pulling it down. So she's got the X, and we'll see later on tonight who she's going after. But a fine start to the show, I guess. If you're, I guess if the thought being like, all right, TNA's back, I better see some TNA. Well, you get women and you get an Ultimate X, so that's as TNA as it gets, pal. Was that the thinking? I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. All right, Brandon, what did this do for you? From the whole Triple H entrance to the TNAist of TNAs.
Yeah, that felt so much like a Triple H rah like out on the stage, get everybody hyped up thing that he would do sometimes. I mean, yeah, bald guy, beard, and suit,
raspy voice, saying "We are" 3 letters.
And then, of course, this match had a lot of the cliches I really can't stand, the blatantly choreographed spots, and how there's not really anybody to cheer for or boo, and the fans clap like it's ballet. And a lot of the spots felt like I was watching sometimes it felt like I was watching an AEW women's match.
Anything stand out at all? Besides all that?
I think the one believable spot that I kind of like, okay, I could see that actually happening and making sense was, I want to say it was, forgetting who, but I know it's Danny Luna who performed the move. No, it was Lish. Yeah, it was Lish. She did the
Is
whole
that when
like
she fell off the thing and Danny caught her?
Yeah, and power bombed her. Like it felt like okay, like she just happened to be in the right spot at the right time. Like she didn't like purposely put herself there. It felt like, oh, she fell. I'm gonna catch her.
Yep. Yeah, that's funny. I was gonna say if there was one memorable spot, it was that. Just because Danny Luna caught her, and even though Lish isn't like she's not like a huge woman, but still, it's called gravity and it's called balance and it's called all this other stuff. And Danny caught her and could have dropped her, but she didn't. So I thought that was relatively impressive. But yeah, well, Giselle Shaw wins. Anything else?
Nope.
All right, let's move on. Okay, now is the AJ Francis pre-tape, and remember what I said about everything with him is there's got to be some disaster or fuck up or something. Whether it's even this, even a pre-tape can't go right, because if you notice when they start the pre-tape, he's standing still. And then he just starts walking forward with DJ Who Kid as if someone had said action. So they didn't even cut the pre-tape to where it looked like they were already walking. Like there's the half a second where they're standing still before he starts walking toward the camera. And they're like already past like a doorway. So it's not like you would never just stand there. You would always be continuing to walk through that area, right? So even that, and then they say whatever they say, whatever bullshit they say, it doesn't matter. And then at the end, like after they go out of frame, it freezes. So it freezes on a hotel lobby for like 3-4 seconds. Like just letting you know that this is like a YouTube clip or something that they played and they forgot to click off, like it's just damn it. You know what I mean? Damn it. You can't have this man on screen without an incident. It just will not. He will curse everything he touches. I'm just telling you.
Make that the gimmick. Lean into it. Be flop dollar in everything.
I don't think he wants to do that. Now I know what our response is. Who gives a shit what you want? But I mean, it's on a handshake deal. We wouldn't want to offend Top Dollar and lose him. Let's do our best. But yeah. All right. Next is Dirty Dango with his entourage versus PCO, or Pico, as he's known. So they start this match. Of course, Dango still hates pro wrestling, or he hates TNA now. That's actually what he says. He says, "Man, I hate TNA wrestling." So boos all around. How dare you not like TNA wrestling? But then they have the match, and then PCO goes for a PCO assault, and Johnny Bravo grabs his leg. Excuse me, Alpha Bravo grabs his leg, and he takes a disgusting bump, like right on the back of his, high on his back and neck. And then that causes a disqualification because it was blatantly in front of the referee. And then Rhino comes out to prevent this beatdown on PCO, and he's in full gear and he's wet already. And then Santino comes out and he makes it a tag team match. I wanted to say playa, but he didn't. So he makes it a tag team match. So it becomes Dango and Bravo and Oleg versus Pico, Rhino, and their mystery partner, Jake something. All right, so no, we could have done. He's also ready and wet, so good thing. That just goes to show you guys, always be in your gear at the show, even if you're not booked. You never know what might happen. You never know when someone could get an early DQ, and then your director of authority could change everything and make it a 6-man tag, and then they'll just need somebody who's standing around in full gear and wet to go out there to the ring. So that's a lesson for all you up and coming aspiring wrestlers out there. Yeah. So whatever, they have a 6-man match, and very poetically, the finish of the match was a PCO assault on Alpha Bravo. The one move he thwarted to cause this whole mess ends up beating him. So, if anything, this match had the perfect booked ending. But other than that, it was a lot of exactly what you expect from the rest of it. Did you see anything different?
Nope. Pretty much exactly how you described it.
Okay. All right. Would you describe this any differently? A mysterious lady arrives at the building. No? Okay. I guess I nailed it. All right. Next is the Knockouts Tag Team Championship match, which apparently was a surprise to everyone. The announcers were shocked that they were getting a Knockouts Championship match here. So MK Ultra comes out, and their opponents are a surprise, and it is Decay. Decay is back. Rosemary and Havoc are back. No more whatever their names were before. Courtney Rush and Jessica, no, we're back with the glowy gas mask and some face paint, but not as much as before, and a short haircut. We're back. Were you excited to see Decay back?
I'm just sad we missed a storyline that explained how Courtney and Jessica became Rosemary and Havoc again.
No time. We have no time for that. We only had like a month. Like, when were they supposed to shoot a vignette or come up with anything? They only had a month. Buckshot Kid's wife was happy Rosemary was back. So, shout outs to Dawn Kid. She loves Rosemary. So yeah. So my note on this was more like 2 months. Yeah, that's probably right. So Havoc kicks out of the snowplow at 1. So I take an issue with that. I don't think we needed that. But it's a nice way to give a middle finger to Masha Slamovich. So whatever, writing's on the wall there. losing your belt. We're burying your finish. And remember when you beat Jessica in like 2 seconds? Like I do. Uh, but they go on to win. So new champs. Decay is the Knockouts Tag Team Champions. What'd you think of this?
I thought this was really a wasted opportunity because you have that story of, Masha beating Jessica, which kind of center on the whole start of the whole thing. So then you tell the story of Jessica and Courtney Rush kind of go on their little adventure, their quest or whatever, and ends up with them coming back as Jessica or as Havoc and Rosemary. And then it means something when you have Havoc beat Masha and they take the belts.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, there was just no time for that. So
No time for that.
yeah, we didn't. Ain't nobody got time for that, as a great person once said. Yeah. I guess in a sense, if you were using Decay as a surprise, you don't want people to know that they're coming back as Decay. So, but how long did they plan on that? Was this always the plan, or is it just something they thought of more recently? I guess So I can see from that standpoint of like, let's not telegraph that it's Decay coming back. Let's just have that be the surprise, and then maybe we could tell the backstory later. I don't know if they will. Probably won't. Maybe they'll mention it, but I mean, if they're putting the belts on them, perhaps there will be some television focus on them going forward. So that's kind of usually what they do on the show. They're more known for their, stupid, supernatural vignettes than they are for their wrestling matches. So prepare for a return to that. Any other thoughts before we move on ahead here?
I'm gonna miss the huddle cam.
Oh, the huddle cam. Well, you know what? We don't have the huddle cam, but we do have the Huddle for Health campaign with the NFL alumni partnership, where anything that you need or you're going through, you have people that can help you out with it. So I don't know what that means, but check it out. There was a QR code. Scan it. Go back and find it and scan it if you need help from former NFL players. Okay, now Burt Macklin is with Gia and no music underneath. He declares this to be the Mayhem era. And it's going to be Tag 'em, Bag 'em, and Mayhem for all, yada, yada, yada. And then we get Scott D'Amore coming out with Dorian Pena from AAA. The announcer, Mrs. Alexander, the announcer sort of jumps the gun on announcing Pena. Kind of felt like Scott wanted to bring him out or something like that, but she announced them both, and then he walked out of the tunnel later. So there you go. I'll just chalk that up to more TNA stuff. They basically just make their partnership official. They want to bring more lucha to TNA, and so Dorian signs some sort of contract that Scott D'Amore has there ceremonially, and then that leads into our X Division championship match, a 3-way between Vikingo, Kushida, and Sabin. So for some people, this will be their first look at Vikingo, the man they've only heard about. And if you've seen him, it was probably in one of those AEW troll accounts with all of the times he fell off the ropes or, missed somebody on a dive or all the fuck ups he's done. Personally, I think the worst thing he's done so far is that his outfit kind of fucking looks like the Shockmaster, doesn't he? Like that Viking helmet's all glittery, and it doesn't look like a stormtrooper, but it looks like some rejected Star Wars character. It looks like maybe a General Grievous type face with glitter on it. I've seen him wear less glittery masks than that, or helmets, so that's funny. And he has like the furry coat and everything, so he really is kind of like a little tiny Shockmaster, and he falls down a lot. So that is, in that sense, like, I don't know am I the first person to make this comparison that Hijo del Vikingo is the new Shockmaster?
You just might be. I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, you guys heard anybody else say that? Did I invent this? All right. Well, anyway, um,
Retro Rock Review's
so,
got a great point. I mean, just look at Seth Rollins.
yes, yep. Mm-hmm. All right. So then the match happens, and just me. Okay. After countless spots and flips, some of which PCO has already done earlier in the night, Saban cradle shocks his buddy to retain the X Division champion. So boring. Chris Saban's still a champion. Boring. Not that either one of these guys was necessarily the best choice either. I don't think Vikingo's going to stick around, and he's already a champion of a company. And Kushida will be here in plenty of time. Him winning the belt won't really mean anything here, but just it's like, all right. A match happened, and Chris Saban's still the champion. Everything is as it was. This is your first look at Vikingo, aka New Era Shockmaster. I'm gonna find out how to say that in Spanish real quick while you tell me your thoughts on everything.
It just felt like an X Division filler match. Like, we got to figure out a way to get an X Division title match on the show. Here's some guys we can put in there, and Kushida taking the pin was obvious because they're not going to piss off a new partner and pin their champion.
Yeah.
And as far as Vikingo goes, I mean, very impressive in what he does. It's that style's just not personally for me.
Well, I mean, we know that we're not ourselves particularly flippy fans or whatever, but and I think he kind of toned it down in this somewhat from what I've seen him attempt to do before. But I mean, nothing actually stick out to you.
I dug the presentation, like the whole look and the video, the character, like just the whole entrance and presentation of everything. I like that.
Shockmaster?
Shockmaster. Woo!
Choke? Is that how you say it?
Say what?
Trying to. Maybe I have my sound off.
Choke.
Yeah, choke. All right. It's a little late, phone. Come on. All right. So, Maestro de choque. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Here we go. We get a package, and then we get Alexander versus Alexander. So, Alexander Hammerstone, that's usually how he goes. I can only assume he shortened it to Alex just because of his opponent here. But who cares? Just go with it, is my thing. Like, even make that part of the thing. Like, make that part of the promo or the presentation or whatever. Like,
Yep.
don't shy away from the fact that you have two Alexanders here.
Yeah, like that kind of added to the whole Chris Jericho, Chris Benoit feud. Like the battle of the Chris's.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. But yeah, it's so Alexander Hammerstone, free agent. And I don't know what his contract status is with TNA, if this is going to be a one-off. Seems like a guy you like to bring in. I've seen Hammerstone quite a few times. First thing that struck me about him, besides what the obvious, is that he can move and he seems to have an aptitude for pro wrestling, unlike a lot of guys that were clearly had bodybuilding as a first love, and then kind of decide to change gears. He kind of seems like he's always wanted to be a wrestler, and he prepared himself as such. So again, when I see a guy like him, I always think of, God, this is what Vince wanted in the 80s, This is what he really wanted in the 80s instead of the warlords and, the Brockuses and the, any of those guys that were like could barely were barely coordinated enough to step through the ropes, let alone have a pro wrestling match.
Ted
What he
Arcidi?
wanted was guys that could move like this, guys that were athletes, but also looked super jacked and ridiculous to the point of being cartoonish. So Hammerstone's always been one of those guys that I'm like, okay, yeah, I could see this. This guy can work anywhere with pretty much anybody. I don't look at him like a big muscle guy, even though he is. You know what I mean? You know what I mean when I say that?
Yeah.
But he's also just not doing a bunch of ridiculousness like, say, Brian Cage. Like, he does some athletic things, but he's not trying to just expose the business like Brian Cage. He's just showing off that he can do some things. So that's been my impression of him. And so I was interested after not watching his matches for a while. I've definitely laid off of MLW for a couple years. So I haven't seen anything with him recently. So I was interested to see how he's progressed since last time, or if my initial assessment was wrong in any way. And, I felt like, yeah, still pretty good. What was your overall impressions of Hammerstone? Had you seen him before, and this match in general?
This was the first time I'd seen him. Obviously, like we just talked about, great look, charismatic, can definitely work with anybody. It's, again, the way this match was, your usual sell when it's convenient, and then when it's time to do something, it's like you're able to do it, and then all of a sudden back to selling.
You're saying he did do that, or he didn't?
I want to say there's one point he did during when Alexander's working his leg, and then he hit a slam, going for a pin, and then went and then sold his leg again.
Right. I also think he may have forgotten which leg to sell at one point, but it wasn't that noticeable, I don't think, to a normal fan. Anything else?
No. That was a decent match.
All right. So Josh was kind of taking the heel role a little bit in this, which I thought was interesting. I kind of well, I'll get to that in a minute. I also think for Josh Alexander, he should probably the whole taking the overhead belly to belly suplex. I don't think he should do that anymore. Not only because he's already had injury issues, but even with Hammerstone's help on this, he barely made it over, and he took the teardrop bump. Now, you know what I mean when I say that, but for anybody else that doesn't know, generally anytime you take a flat back bump, you want to land as flat as possible. And when you're coming down from a backdrop, you want to kind of have your, everything hit at the same time. And on this overhead belly to belly, which is essentially the same bump as a backdrop, or like a back body drop, that is, he kind of landed like in the middle of his back with his arms and his legs still kind of pointing towards the ceiling. So you land in sections. And like I said, Hammerstone gave him some help, but you also have to be careful not to, when you're giving somebody the overhead backdrop move, you don't want to over rotate them. You want to help them a little bit for safety, but you also want to let them take their own bump, right? So Hammerstone did help him, but he didn't push him too hard. And in this case, if he had over rotated Josh might have landed flatter, actually, but instead he barely made it over and could have paralyzed himself. So I don't think he should take overhead belly to bellies if he can't even do it with this one, where the guy giving it to him gave him did it as well as could be expected. I think he better just not do that anymore. That's just my advice. And I know he's a big fan because we've always been so nice to him on this show. But you know, that's my Stevie Richards what went wrong clip of the week. But there were, after, lot of power move and kickouts of power moves throughout the rest of this match. At one point, Josh took the finish, the Nightmare Pendulum, but instead, like they did the thing where he couldn't cover him right away, and then Josh was able to like roll over. So they sort of protected the move, but I still didn't like it. And one of the reasons why I don't like it is because just because you protect a guy's finish, that's one thing. But if the match goes on for like 5 more minutes and you keep hitting power moves after that, like some of those should be able to beat the guy. Because if he's already taken one finish clean and then you hit him with more stuff, that should be just as good as a finish, right? Obviously.
Yeah, like that actually reminded me of something. Remember the finish to Austin and Rock at WrestleMania 17?
I just remember Austin hitting with the chair 500 times.
Yep. And that was after they had traded their finishers a couple times earlier.
Right. Yeah, so a stunner couldn't do it, but 99 chair shots can do it, and then he just pins him, So yeah, it makes sense. But here it's a little different, So anyway, I don't like that. And Alexander ends up winning with the C4, which is kind of boring booking. Now, you could make the argument that Hammerstone's here for a guest spot, so you don't want the guy that's coming in for a one-shot to go over on the guy that's going to be here. However, I disagree. And personally, the way I would have done this, if I care about Josh Alexander's career, which I don't, let me make that perfectly clear. No offense. I'll be just fine if he's at the top of the card, the bottom of the card, the middle of the card, or in a different company. I'm fine with whatever. I don't care. That's all I mean. But let me lay this out for you, Brandon, and you everybody else, the C, and tell me what you think about this. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down on this booking. Okay. Now, a lot of people are really lukewarm at best on Josh Alexander, right? So how do we make this guy a top guy that we want to see? Okay, let's start with this. Here's open challenge, and actually it's Alexander Hammerstone that's offering the open challenge, saying, I'm giving you somebody else the opportunity to face me, right? So they've made that part of the story. That's not me. That's what they did, okay? So obviously you'd think, okay, well, this guy's good to bring in for Josh Alexander to go over on, right? Like that must be the Scott D'Amore thinking or whatever their booking is, right? Now, it's different if Alexander Hammerstone's not sticking around, or I mean, if he is sticking around, then maybe things are a little different, but let's just assume he's not. So if he comes in for a one-shot, Josh Alexander's kind of acting like a heel, and the crowd's kind of like behind Hammerstone in this match. Again, that's what happened. I would have had Alexander Hammerstone be kind of the heel. And I would have had Josh Alexander in the match be sort of fighting from underneath, almost as if he's completely outclassed. And then I would have Alexander Hammerstone go over on it strong with no cheating, no nothing. And just leave him laying there, possibly hurt. Like, hurt. You know what I mean? Because you need to tell this story. Like, if we want to get interested in Josh Alexander, I'm not saying this is a guarantee, but the only way it's going to happen is if we have some level of sympathy for him, right? We already know the stories that he's overcome to get back in like top tier shape from his injuries, after being the champion, having to give up the title and all this other stuff. So we've already got that story. So now we tell the story of him coming back, right? So he gets this match. We all expect him to go over because he's the company guy. Nope, some outsider guy came in and fucked him up and left him, So now it's like, what happens next for Josh Alexander? Because Hammerstone gets to go away and he's sticking around. So now people look at Alexander like a liability. So now we get even more sympathy on him because you can have somebody like Moose who eventually you imagine he's going to do a program with Moose, right? Right? Because we're spoiling the fact that Moose is already the TNA champion, right? So now in the future, you would expect at least their history to get rekindled somewhat, right? So now Moose can go up to Josh and be like, you let some outsider come in and beat you in front of everybody in the world on the biggest night of our careers, and you're going to try to say that you deserve to be the man in this company. You will never be the man. So Moose down talks him. Everybody else side eyes him. You know, Scott D'Amore doesn't say, you need to get your emotions in check. He says, you know, hey, maybe you need to, you know, like maybe you need to refocus or something. And now the story becomes, is Josh Alexander, can he even win a match anymore? You know, and then you can have him lose again to somebody else. You know what I mean? Whoever that is, Eddie Edwards, whoever's relevant to the story. If you're trying to sell a match between him and Moose again, you have to get him back on that path, and you do that by getting people to want him on that path instead of feeling like he was sort of crammed down our throats as a company guy. You know? Okay, so that's my assessment of the situation. I think that booking would have been better for both guys. What do you think of that?
No, that makes so much more sense. That's when a loss really matters and propels the story forward and creates character development.
Right. I mean, we've already seen winning streak Josh Alexander.
Yep. That was boring.
It's boring, right? And now the story is, can he do it? Can he not can he become the champion again? Can he even get a shot again? Can he beat anybody again? Is he finished? You know, like, is he washed? You know, it's not like he's a young guy. If you work an injury with, like, if you make it so that Alexander Hammerstone beats him with the Nightmare Pendulum and fucks him up and he's got to get helped out of there, you know, it's like, wow, can I even come back to the ring once? And then he gets in there and he'll lose to another, like, semi-top guy. And then it'll be like, well, damn, can I beat Laredo Kid? I don't know. Like, it's just like, just tell that story. You know, that's what I would rather do with a one shot. And then if Hammerstone ever comes back, then if the time is right and you've rehabilitated the character, Josh Alexander can get a win back. You know, that's a, yeah. What do I know? I don't know shit. Dude.
Or here's the thing. All right, Moose says, if you want a shot at my title, you have to go back and beat the guy you lost to.
Right. Right. I mean, it's so easy. I don't know. Well, yeah, Liz saying have him go against all the former champs and not being able to beat them. Exactly. Have him go up against Jordan Grace and lose. I don't care. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I give that away? Well, let's move on back to the let's move on back to the show. I'm done giving them free ideas and advice. We get a package, and then it's the tag team 4-way match: the Rascals versus the Grizzly Young Veterans. Versus, now it was going to be the team of Trent Seven and Mike Bailey, which I was going to call Seven Ball, but unfortunately, because of travel restrictions or something, Trent Seven was able to make it so it was Laredo Kid instead. So it's Laredo Ball. That name makes no sense. And then they face ABC, who are the champions, right? All right. ABC wins the match. They retain. That's fine. I'm just interested in any observations you have about the Grizzly Young Veterans now that you've seen them. You've seen what they can do. I personally think Zach Gibson is the money there when he was a singles, like, years ago. But he's been stuck in this tag team with a non-impressive guy. No offense to James Drake. He works really hard, but I just don't see it with him. And I think I think Gibson brings him up and he brings Gibson down. That's my assessment of them as a team. I've been watching them for years, and this is your first time seeing them, so I like to know what you saw.
I would need to see a little bit more out of them just to get a better idea. Like, especially
it's
like
a 4-way, right? Like,
yeah, but you know, from what I saw and what they displayed, I liked it. I mean, they weren't being like your usual X Division, you know, super indie, you know, nonsense. I mean, they obviously participated in some of it because, you know, it's a 4-way with 4-way tag. So it's. But I thought they showed a great amount of character, which is what's missing in wrestling.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a shame. Yeah, it's harder to see. Like, this isn't a real match. This is just stuff.
Yeah.
And we've already seen this.
Right. There's no emotional investment in it. It's just it's a what is it? It's stunt wrestling, like Al Snow says.
And we've seen this already. We saw an Ultimate X match. We saw an X Division 3-way match. You know.
Yeah, like by this point, I was kind of feeling like, okay, are they trying to go to like an AEW light direction?
They're just going back to TNA, bro. That's all it is. That's what it is. You can't say AEW invented it. But speaking of stuff that was invented by other people, we find out the identity of that mysterious lady is Ash by Elegance. That's the name of her. Or it's Ash by Excellence, according to Matthew Raywalt. But neither here nor there. Ash by Elegance is what the graphic said. And if you didn't watch this show, or even if you did, it was the former Dana Brooke. And I say, even if you did, you might not know that, just because every time you see Dana Brooke, she looks like she has a different face. So even the chameleon from Spider-Man's like, damn, could you chill out with all the different faces? Yeah. So she's going to sit there and watch this Knockouts title match between Jordynne Grace and Trinity. So I had no real complaints on this match. Jordynne hits the Juggernaut Driver for the win. She's the champ. She gives Trinity a hug. I'm sure Trinity's on her way out the door at the first possible opportunity. And so that makes sense. But I really don't have much to say. It was fine. At first, it looked like Trinity was like I saw nothing on her face. Like, she was really just going through the motions at the start of this. Like, not reacting to things, no expression, just like, yep, here's the spot. And then, she got into it by the midpoint or whatever, and it was okay at the end. But, like, the start of it was kind of weird. So, I wouldn't even say it was like, the boo-boo face. It was just something, like, lethargic. I couldn't tell you. But, like I said, by the end, didn't really affect it. But that's my only real observation about the match. Everything else, I didn't have, like I said, I didn't have anything to complain about. Mostly it would be nitpicks.
Yeah, it kind of felt like she's probably feeling like she's kind of done recharging her batteries and we're ready to go back to the WWE.
Yeah, sure she will. I mean, it only makes sense. She only left because of one reason, and that reason is gone. So her husband is there, and it's time to go back to that. So yeah. And I'm sure she's one of those people that was just like constantly messaging Eric Young, I mean Triple H, and saying, is he gone yet? Is he gone yet? Is he gone yet? I got this much time in my contract, Let's just keep me updated. So yeah, but she.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, it's.
And this is kind of my prediction. I think Jordan's kind of set up as a transitional champion to pass it to Shaw.
Oh, you think so, huh? Okay. Well, I don't have an opinion on that. So let's see what happens. Okay, so then we get the package, and then it's finally here. The title bout, Moose versus Shelley. Moose with the sort of a new stinger before his entrance music instead of the classic. It's like something else, and he's got an amazing robe, and looks like $8 million, $9 million, and then comes out with his briefcase that gets handed to him by the system, and the system leaves him, and then Alex Shelley comes out boringly, and then they have their match, and then I mean, it was good. It was a good match, actually. At least 75% of it was really good, and then the last 25%, Alex Shelley'd it up, but it was fine. Moose did an excellent job selling his arm. Like, he never stopped selling it. Like, as a contrast to what we were talking about with Hammerstone earlier, who maybe forgot to sell his leg a little bit, or forgot which leg he was supposed to sell, maybe. This Moose is constantly selling his arm in a believable manner all the way through everything, even after the match is over and he's victorious with a spear. Again, there was no interference in this, was there? I think they actually tried to come out, but did they do anything? I forget.
I think the football player that was with them did kind of, get involved a little bit with, and then Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards got cut off by Kushida and Sabin. And they fought.
Oh yeah, that's right. But that didn't lead into the finish, though.
No, it's basically like, they come out and the playing field gets leveled, resume the match, and then a little bit more, and then a finish.
Right. All right. So there was that. The football player, by the way, D'Angelo Williams, who he's been in TNA before. I forget exactly what the capacity was, but yeah. Did he team with Moose before? Was that what he was doing before?
Might have. I don't remember.
I mean, I knew they were friends, but I can't remember if they did the angle. Somebody here knows. But yeah, D'Angelo Williams. That's the guy. He's part of the system. I forgot to mention. But he was there the whole time, even at the countdown show and everything. So yeah. But my takeaways from this: Moose sells his arm, obviously, great. And he wins, obviously, great. And he looks great, and everything was great. Before we get to the post match, your thoughts on everything here in the main event.
I liked it. I thought it was a great match. Obviously, Moose is the champion. Whoop whoop. The one criticism I have is that I kind of felt like Shelley's finisher got shit on when Moose was able to get hit with it on the outside and make it back in the ring before a 10 count.
Fuck Alex Shelley. This is Moose we're talking about.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that move to Moose, it would work.
Yeah. Well, maybe Moose blocked it, a little bit and hurt his arm a little bit more, maybe. Let's make all the justifications and rationalizations and excuses we can. I'm sure what happened is when he pulled Moose down on the shell shock, Moose kind of got his arm up there and it hurt him a little bit more, but it was better than his face, right? So that's what happened. 100%. But yeah. I mean, yeah. I was excited for this. It's the one match I really wanted to see, that and the Hammerstone match. But this one I made sure to see. I made sure that when I woke up that night, I watched it before I could see anything about it or hear anything about it. I mean, I was pretty sure of the outcome anyway, just based on the way everything was going, but you never know. So, but yeah. All right. So, Moose is the new champ, and we're all very happy, and we're just sighing in relief and reveling in this glorious moment for about 30 seconds before fucking Dolph Ziggler shows up and fucking ruins everything like he always does. And man, it's just like I can't get away from this guy no matter what. The most I was ever away from him was when he was in WWE still, and they just weren't putting him on TV and still paying him. And then I was like, okay, good. He's getting a living, and I'm not watching him. This is the best possible scenario for everyone involved. And now he shows up at Wrestle Kingdom and ruins everything, and then he shows up here and ruins everything. Like, you couldn't just have, even when Moose gets his crowning moment, like, they still can't give him something without taking something too. Like, it's never gonna work out for Moose, is it? It's just not gonna be a thing. He's gonna get overshadowed in his own moment, you know, in the big switch over, keys taken, handed over moment. Here comes this fucking guy. Yeah, there you go. He's here. What'd you think about this? Did you already know about this probably by the time you saw this?
Yeah. I just got one question though. You really don't like Nick Namath?
No. I'm the only person in the world apparently that has had enough of this fucking guy. I've been sick of him. I've been sick of Nick Nemeth for, what year is it? 19 years. 19 years. I was sick of him the first time I saw him in OVW with his little flat top and his boring ass, no gimmick having ass. And he's still here. He just won't go away. My God. And everybody just talks about how great he is. And I'm like, do you not see it? Do you not see it? Everyone must just love. If you thought Luke Gallows was the master of chin locks, oh boy, wait till you see the Nick Nemeth era of TNA, man. Oh my goodness. As a babyface, he's going to be putting guys in chin locks. It's going to be amazing.
Somebody say chin locks.
Yes. God, this is the worst. This is the worst. You guys, you don't even know. Swear. Let me put it this way. I've seen Dolph Ziggler wrestle more times against Kofi Kingston in the 20 teens than you guys have seen him wrestle ever. All of you. That's how many times I've seen this fucking guy. I've seen everything he can do. I'm done. And he just doesn't get it. He does not get it. He like at Wrestle Kingdom, there was a press conference where, you know, he got into, or at ringside, he got into a David Finlay after a match. Like, he was just inexplicably there at ringside with his brother. And then David Finlay walked by him and they got into a shoving match. And then they started a pull apart right there. And then when David Finlay's at the press conference part and he's getting ready to answer the questions, Dolph Ziggler leaps over the table. Like, he yeets himself over the table. He's like, he makes like a yeet noise. He's like, yeah, as he jumps on David Finlay and starts beating him up. And then he gets out of there. Go look it up. It's free. Go to New Japan World. It's free. Go to the backstage comments for Wrestle Kingdom. Go to the part where Dolph Ziggler leaps on David Finlay and then watch him get on the, do like a 10-minute promo holding David Finlay's belt. Like, he does not understand what's necessary here. Nobody there understands a word that you're saying, and you're sitting there having like this long ass promo that nobody asked you to do. They just wanted you to leave so the next guy could come in. And he just stands there doing this boring ass promo. I'm telling you, just if you don't believe it, if you think I'm crazy, go watch that shit. It's completely free. It won't cost you a thing but that 10 minutes of your life that you'll never get back. Go watch it. And then tell me this guy gets the business. Yeah, now here he is. And I can't wait for him to get on the mic and bore us all to tears again, explaining why he's here. All right, I'm sorry. I apologize. I turned this into a Nick Nemeth rant. If you like to sing the praises of Nick Nemeth, please, the floor is yours.
Nikki!
That was his best ever.
I liked him better as Chavo's caddy.
That was second best ever. Something where nobody hears him is one thing. Like, that's probably the best use. But yeah, for all the people that are like, oh, he's coming in and beating Moose, no, he's not beating Moose. And that's not just me saying that, like, oh, I don't like him and I like Moose. That's not what they're going to do. They're going to use him as a quality win for Moose if they even have the match, which I'm sure they will. But yeah, he's not going to beat Moose's first time out. They'd be crazy to do that. They'd be absolutely crazy. And Moose would be crazy to stay there. I'd be like, let me hire whoever it takes. Stephen P. New, Barry Bloom, whoever. Let me get out of this contract. Because you're fucking done if they do that. So read the writing on the wall and get out if they do that. But yeah. 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 So. But yeah, I mean, hey. It's a brand new TNA. So yeah, he beats up Moose. And Moose still selling his arm, by the way, the whole time. And he beats up Moose and then goes up in the crowd and escapes the system that run down to stop him. And he stands in the crowd and yells, "Let's go," at everybody and tries to hype people up as the show goes off the air. Thank you, Al Robinson. Thank you. A true gentleman, Al Robinson.
Here's to you, Mr. Robinson.
Yep. Moose loves you more than you will know. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah. All right. So. And there was Hard to Kill. So, like I said at the top, again, as of right now, it's just a rope change and an apron change. Until we get weekly TV, we are not going to know, like, what is the difference between Impact and TNA right now. Like, that's going to take some time to establish, if it gets established at all. So, and we're still going to have to probably wait a while for that, because everything that they're taping as we speak is probably just going to be matches as portioned out. But maybe they will chop it up with, actual pre-taped stuff and other post-production stuff and try to make a TV show out of it. Maybe we'll get the backstory for Decay or whatever else. Buckshot Kid really wants to know if Alex Shelley's a heel. Bro, he's been a heel in real life and he's a heel in in this show. I don't even know. Like, they didn't even treat the system as that heelish. I mean, other than the fact that they've all been heels up till now. But
and they all won their matches clean.
Yeah. I'm just saying. But yeah, like, I don't know. I don't know if he thinks he is, or I don't know if they think he is. But he's not a heel just because he got heat on Moose's arm, but he's kind of seemed like a prickish heel every time he's been, even whether it was Nick Aldis or, whoever, Josh Alexander. It's always seemed like kind of a dick. So if you ask me, I'll say yeah. But if I ask if he's supposed to be, I don't know. I don't know what they think. Hot news from Liz. Jinder did not beat Rollins. And neither did Kinder. Yeah, so that delicious German chocolate also did not beat Seth Rollins. But nobody thought he would. So I don't even know why this match ever took place. But anyway, I think what we can all agree on is Moose, 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 Moose. So
Moose,
that
moose,
being
moose.
said,
Moose, moose.
yeah, that being
moose,
said,
moose, moose, moose.
That being said, Brandon, final mooses.
Moose, 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 moose. X at Transarchus Tia. Moose, 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 moose. At twitch.tv/Miss Tia the Transarchist. Moose, 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 and Substack at HMG Brandon.
Moose. Moose. Wednesday, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern for the Next Level Review with Big Ray Hernandez. And Moose. Every Sunday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern for The Wreckage with Jimmy T. And Chris Ames from the PWC came back to his own show yesterday as of this recording. And we had everybody was saying I was on fire. I don't know. That's for you guys to decide. But if you want to decide, if you missed it, if you want to see if the vet was in fact on fire, go back and, moose. And then we've got Moose Wrestling with Rip Rogers is every Friday at their concrete time of whenever they go on the air. So the best way to know is to just subscribe on their YouTube channel, click the notification bell for all notifications so that whenever they go live, you won't be left out of the chance to ask Rip Rogers questions live for an hour. And then post that hour, usually they bring on somebody. And this week, of course, it was the Outrunners. You may remember the Outrunners from OVW. You may remember them from NWA. You may remember them from AEW. You may remember them from Ring of Honor. Where aren't the Outrunners? Basically just here in TNA, but or the WWE, but that may change. So if you want to see the Outrunners being hilarious, then check out the latest Wrestling with Rip Rogers, and then go back and listen to a bunch of their interviews that they've had with everybody from Mark Henry to Gerald Briscoe to Ace Steel to Stephen P. New to Les Thatcher to Herb Simmons to what's that guy's name? Dave Marquez. I mean, they just has so many great interviews. You can skip the Ron DeShane one, but every other one, go check those out. Moose. And Stevie Richards' Wrestling Analysis channel is struggling right now because of copyright claims. And this is just going to keep on happening to anybody that tries to get over in this world that's not figured in. They're going to be met with copyright claims where other people aren't. So as Big Time Willie once said in the Spike Lee classic He Got Game, the bigger you get up in this motherfucker, the more they hate you. So Steve Rich is going through that right now with his channel, but he's still got a fitness channel and he's giving reviews of his, different all-in-one gyms and trainers and saunas and total gyms and just all kinds of stuff. So you're going to want to check that out. Check out the Big Fitness Show with Stevie Richards and Big Mike Barons, the podcast, on YouTube as well. You can watch it on YouTube if you like, to see gorgeous Stevie just sitting there. And well, Mike's he's no Stevie Richards, but he's all right. And then of course he's got his tech channel, which has recently been resurrected. So plenty of Stevie Richards to moose. For Brandon, I'm the vet. Moose. Sign off line. Moose.